Seattle sent a message knocking off Philadelphia last week. Jacksonville can send that same message with a big win against the Seahawks.
Pete Carroll at age 66. He is the oldest active head coach currently in the NFL. And Doug Marrone, who said, yeah, statement game. It's nice for people to talk about that. From my concern, our team's concern, the focus is the next play, the next snap, this game. Unusually cold for this part of the state. Temperature with the later start in the low 50s, not a lot of wind. It'll be in the low 40s by the time the sun goes down and we play the second half. Seattle won the toss. They deferred, so Blair Walsh ready to kick off to Corey Grant and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Couple of 8-4 teams. Week 14, the NFL on Fox, and here we go. And Grant stopped short of the 15-yard line. The offensive line for Jacksonville and a group that has paved the way for rookie running back Leonard Fournette, although lately the run game has stalled a bit.
It really has been a little sluggish the last 3 weeks, and the big topic of conversation, the injuries to Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman. Can Jacksonville take advantage of that secondary? That's not how they're built. That's not how they're constructed. It's more about the run game that they need to get on track this afternoon.
Keelan Cole, the rookie, starts at receiver with Alan Hearns out with an ankle injury. From the 14, Blake Bortles with a quick toss to Fournette, and he'll get a couple of yards going up toward the sideline. Well, Bortles completing almost 60% of his throws, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's also a threat to run, not like his counterpart Russell Wilson as much, but effective when he has to.
He really can be an effective runner, whether it's an extension of the play or an actual called run, and he's coming off one of the best games of his professional career last week against the Colts. Let's see how he carries it over to this weekend.
Incomplete. Dede Westbrook, the rookie from Oklahoma, the target, and now it's a third down against a defense that did quite a job on the red-hot Eagles last Sunday night. Up front, Sheldon Richardson, an acquisition to the Seattle team. Leading tackler Bobby Wagner has been outstanding, and a reshuffled secondary that fans are well aware of.
Yeah, but they're playing well, and this is a group, this is the original group. We see this defense all around the NFL now as these coaches from Seattle get an opportunity. This is the original, and it's still based at its core. It's an aggressive, speed-laden defense.
Bortles on third down, stepping up from his 10. Catch made, but it's going to be short of the first down. Westbrook immediately tackled by Byron Maxwell. Once a Seahawk, then on to Philly and Miami, and back fitting into things for Seattle.
And this is one of the other staples of the Seattle defense is tackling. This is one-on-one out in space with an opportunity to run after the catch for the first down. Good job by Byron Maxwell.
Brad Nortman in his 6th season. There's Tyler Lockett ready to return. 2nd season in Jacksonville after 4 with the Panthers for Nortman. Waving people away, bounces right into the arms of a member of the Jags special team. It'll be spotted inside the 35-yard line. Talk about offensive lines. The September trade that brought in left tackle Dwayne Brown has really helped with ex-Jag Luke Jokel also on that left side.
And it's all going to be about this offensive line, and they've got to find a way to run the football. They can't continue to drop back in pass protection against this Jaguar front. Very unique speed in the front 7 of this Jacksonville defense.
After a 44-yard punt without a return from the Seattle 33, defense did its job. Mike Davis, his 2nd straight start at running back. And Russell Wilson to throw, and leaping and catching at the 35-yard line. Paul Richardson tackle right away, and Russell Wilson 64 career wins. That's a record in your first 6 seasons. He's a guy who leads the team in rushing and receiving. And I think it was one of the Eagles, Malcolm Jenkins, who said after last week the way he ran around and threw the ball, he's called him a human joystick. Now looks like we have a challenge. Came a little bit late, but before the snap. Gene Steratore, our referee today, came from the Jacksonville sideline.
Jacksonville is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
I'd ruled a catch initially. Pete Carroll looking on. Doug Marrone, by the way, 2 of 4 in challenges this year.
Caught the back end of the football. It does look like it comes to the ground. You can see right there, he doesn't possess the ball as it goes to the ground. So I think that Doug Marrone is going to win this challenge. You see right there, catching the back end. Does he have it controlled? Goes to the ground. You can go to the ground with possession of the football, and it can hit the ground, and it can still be a completion, but you could see that he never really possessed it.
An excellent coverage by A.J. Boye in that Jacksonville secondary.
Oh, everything will be contested today in the pass game. This is going to be a fun matchup. A.J. Boye, Jalen Ramsey at the cornerback position. Really looking forward to Jalen Ramsey and Doug Baldwin playing against each other.
They have reviewed this. It was only a 3-yard gain on first down, but challenged by Doug Marrone.
After review, the ruling is overturned to an incomplete pass. The ball hits the ground. Please reset the game clock to 13 minutes, 38 seconds. Jacksonville is not charged with a timeout and still has 2 potential challenges remaining.
And that's why I think it's a good challenge, Chris, because it doesn't really change anything. You've still got 2 challenges moving forward, and 2nd and 7 is a lot easier than 2nd and 10. You want to put this Seattle Seahawks offense in as many tough situations as you can.
Good challenge for Marrone and the Jags. 2nd down 10. Empty backfield. Extra receivers for Wilson, and he finds one short of the 39-yard line. It's Richardson again. As we look at this Jacksonville defense, boy, they lead the NFL in sacks. They lead them in a lot of categories. In fact, they're the only team that has not allowed a touchdown on an opponent's opening drive this year.
I think one of the fun things to watch this afternoon will be this Jaguar defense against the extended play of Russell Wilson. You talked about the comment of him being like a human joystick because of that unique athletic ability in that front 7. Can Jacksonville handle the escapability of Russell Wilson?
J.D. McKissick comes in the backfield. 3rd and 3. Wilson from the pocket, and for the first down catch just at the 45, falling forward, Tyler Lockett.
And this is how you frustrate unique speed in a defensive front. The ball is coming out quick. They're finding openings in the coverage. Quick decisions by Russell Wilson.
And a crisp start. Some of the Seahawks players said they didn't mind playing on the East Coast with this later start. So the body clock the same as in the Pacific time zone. Fake to Davis. There goes Russell Wilson. Room to run. He's got a first down. It slips out of bounds untouched by the Jacksonville defense.
Big no-no by Calais Campbell, the mayor of Saxonville. You have to have your end contain. You have contain on the outside. You can see Calais Campbell collapses down to the inside and gives Russell Wilson a free edge.
Wilson averaging over 6 yards a carry, and he runs more than most quarterbacks. Picked up a dozen there. From the 44 of Jacksonville. Open off the hands of Nick Van Ent. The backup to the backup behind Jimmy Graham and Luke Wilson.
I really like the start of the game, the play calling by Darrell Bevell right now. We talked about the quick passes at the start of this drive to kind of frustrate that speed in the front of Jacksonville. Now you come back with a quarterback run, test their rules and their responsibilities. Now a little play action if you want to get the ball a little bit farther down the field. Nice job in this opening drive.
Mike Davis met hard, maybe a half a yard. The Seahawks have used 5 different starting running backs. Chris Carson remains out injured. They hope he can return maybe later in the regular season or if Seattle makes it onto the playoffs.
And this is part of that identity change that you mentioned at the top. They don't have that element in the running game that's consistent from week to week. And Pete Carroll actually shared with us, we're in the early stage of development at a late stage of the season with our run game.
And there are the different running backs. Lacey inactive today on 3rd and 10. McKissick in motion. Opening drive for Seattle. McKissick has it, but can he get the first down? Stop short at the 38, and we'll see how close, and if Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell want to be aggressive. Aaron Colvin and Miles Jack closed in, and here comes the punter, John Ryan.
And these are the things you have to do. You're going to come back inside and you're going to crack, and then you're going to go back outside and release on your route, but you got to help out your tackles because of the unique ability of this pass rush up front by Jacksonville. Running backs, tight ends, everybody's going to have to help out here today.
There's Jaden Mickens back to receive. We'll see how John Ryan plays this. Very good at dropping it inside the 20. And Seattle downs it at the 5.5-yard line. Jeremy Lane with the special teams play. And we expected great defense from these teams. The offenses will be challenged throughout the afternoon here in Jacksonville. Second possession on offense for Jacksonville, an offense that is fueled by the run. They lead the league in rushing. How will that hold up against this Seattle defense? Doug Marrone, an offensive lineman by trade. And now the head coach enjoying an 8-4 season. Fournette carries. And maybe to the 10-yard line. Now, he's been bothered, the outstanding rookie first-rounder, got off to a fast start, but bothered by a sore ankle the last few games.
Yeah, and you mentioned this last 3 games, and one of the big things that you look at when you look at the statistics, this team has had 5 runs of 50 or more yards during the course of the season. The last 3 games, they haven't had one of those explosive runs. That's the only 3 games consecutively during the course of the seaon where they haven't had that big chunk run.
Last 4 games, he's averaging only 3 yards a carry.
66 right, I'm going gun. I'm going gun. Let's go Sunday.
Bortles. Pass complete for a first down. Up across the 20-yard line. Keelan Cole, the rookie free agent from Kentucky Westland.
Nice job by Blake Bortles at the line of scrimmage, changing the play, getting a nice little shallow cross right there. Really challenges Justin Coleman to drop down from depth to try and get up and cover that route. Chris
Ivory has come in at running back after a pickup of 10. Ivory the football. And Chris Ivory spins for a first down. He's loose. Ivory into Seattle territory to the Seahawk 45.
There's one of those big runs right there, and that's what commitment to the running game does. And Bobby Wagner told us when we spoke with him, a linebacker for Seattle, he goes, I've never seen a team that stays as committed to the running game as Jacksonville. And they just keep coming at you, and eventually when you have that type of commitment, you get a run to pop like this. Great spin right there by Chris Ivory to extend that for a big play.
A 34-yard run. Ivory again, shoved back. Now when Fournette was suspended in week 9, Ivory had 70 rush yards on 20 carries. He's only run for 13 yards on a dozen carries in the 4 games since. But maybe with the ankle and Fournette, we might see a 1-2 punch today from this Jacksonville running game.
Yeah, and he's the one running back that doesn't have the big 50-plus yard run, so maybe today is Chris Ivory's day.
Fournette back in. Bortles to throw. Middle of the field is open. Marquise Lee down to the 25 of Seattle.
And when you commit to the running game and you challenge that defense, they have to respect it. So that's when the opportunity for play action comes, and you get all these guys to bite down inside, and that opens up your second level. Watch it. That's an easy throw right there for Blake Bortles.
And Lee, who's battled some drops, leads the team in catches now with 52. A 16-yard pickup. Bortles with a screen and incomplete. Tried to dump it to Fournette. Old dangerous throwback there.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Let me tell you what, this is one of the areas that I really can't figure out, because play action is great if you're a big running team, and screens are also very good if you're a good running team, but Jacksonville really struggles with their screen game. You watch game after game, and it never looks clean. It's very similar to the way that last play looked.
They average running the ball, Darryl, 33 times a game, most in the NFL, but they've mixed in a few throws on this drive. Inside handoff, Fournette to the 20, inside the 20 with this crowd buzzing. I got to tell you, coming into the stadium, we hadn't seen an atmosphere in Jacksonville like this in years.
No, since the time we got here on Friday, there's been a buzz here. And that's why I think some of the players are getting a little bit frustrated. They have earned some respect around the league this year, but they don't feel they're getting that.
And the Seahawks, they bring a crowd with them. In fact, Doug Marrone talked about the noise in this stadium and him bringing up Seattle. Boy, we'd like to come close to that, have our home team, our home crowd be a factor that way. Bortles throw and hit the back of Shaquille Griffin. He was trying to get the ball to Westbrook.
One of the things that continues with Seattle, they are extremely aggressive on the outside. This goes all the way back to the beginning days of the Legion of Boom with Brandon Brown or Richard Sherman. Their corners are extremely physical, and they'll talk to the referees prior to the game, kind of gauge what their thoughts are. So you can see by that no call right there, they're going to be allowed to play very physically on the outside.
That's always good for Seattle. Remember, they're without Cam Chancellor and no Richard Sherman, injured. Field goal try for Josh Lambo. It's up and good from 38 yards away. And that from their own 7-yard line, marching all the way downfield and getting free. The Jags over the Hawks for the moment. Along with Laura Oakman, Darryl Johnston, Chris Myers, and the Jags strike first. It was Chris Ivory busting a 34-yard run to set up the Josh Lambo field goal. And now the Seahawks will have their second try on offense. They did move the ball as Tyler Lockett waits in the end zone. They just stalled when they got around the 40 of the Jags. Lockett, averaging 26 to return, has yet to return one this year for a touchdown, and this bouncing around. And Lockett, who can fly, is trying to turn the corner. It's all the way across the field up to the 25-yard line. I mentioned they lead the league in sacks at a clever nickname, the Jags defense, calling itself Saxonville. And they got guys up front like Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue with 10 sacks. Campbell with 12.5 already set the team record. That can do a lot of damage.
They really can. And then you add to that, I mean, Todd Wash has the best of both worlds. He's got that great front that you just talked about. And then you got guys with swagger on the back end of that defense. I don't know if there's a more confident combo at the corners than A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey.
And if the defense concept looks familiar, it's because it's the Seattle-style defense we're seeing more of. On first down, Mike Davis brought down, run away. Marcel Darius, when they added him, it helped clog up the running game. And how about this group, the sack party? A lot of talent up front.
And number 91, Yannick Ngakoue, is one of the guys that I think we need to start hearing more about. People will talk a lot about the Chargers and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram is one of your big edge rush combinations, but I think Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell are right there with him.
Campbell, the mayor, unofficial mayor of Saxonville.
He's got to have his deputy mayor. Yannick Ngakoue's got to get the deputy mayor.
After no gain, Wilson, there's a flag down, and he's on the move and heaving it for Baldwin. And he's interfered with as a flag flies.
And this is the question we had to Jacksonville, the extended play. You know, what are you going to do? This has become kind of like a play for the Seattle offense.
But here's the deal.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Holding, offense number 65. Pass interference, defense number 20. Those fouls offset, replay second down.
If you're aware and you're in that secondary, you saw the flag likely holding. Don't commit a defensive penalty because Wilson and the Seahawks are aware of what's going on here. He's trying to get that free big play.
Yeah, but the big thing here is you've got rules. Once this starts right now, watch. Okay, here I go. I'm going out the back door. I'm on the move. I'm coming out to the edge. It's called plaster. You can't have your eyes go back to Russell Wilson. And you can see right here at the bottom of your screen, Jalen Ramsey, he took his eyes off of Doug Baldwin. And you can't do that as soon as Russell Wilson goes on the move. Now it's very important, it's critical that your eyes lock onto your receiver.
Taunting against an official. Offense number 65. It's a 15-yard penalty, and it remains second down.
Germain Ifedi called for taunting an official after both of those previous penalties were settled. See if we get a look at that and where that happened.
Half the distance to the goal.
So
half the distance.
Gene Steratore moving it back to the 12-yard line of Seattle. There's 65 of Ifedi on the offensive line.
Obviously didn't agree with the holding call that was called on him on that previous play.
And the Seahawks just had their fewest penalties last week on Sunday night. They lead the NFL in penalties, but the last couple of games better in that department. Second and 23. Dumps it off to Davis. And he's brought down right away. Paul Posluszny. Best game of the season last week when he had 14 tackles. Was there to make that one.
Yeah, okay, now he's not as athletic. Telvin Smith out for the second week in a row due to the concussion protocol. So Paul Posluszny, a guy, he's a veteran guy. He's seen a lot. So he makes up for maybe being a little bit less explosive, less athletic than Telvin Smith with his knowledge. That was a great read on that play to understand what was coming.
Davis. It'll be fourth down. Well, the penalties contributed, and I think the Seahawks didn't want to get too risky, expecting, at least at this stage, a kind of a low-scoring push and shove kind of game.
Well, you're trying to find that identity, right? And one of the things as you're going through that process is you cannot have a lot of mistakes. And as you pointed out, the last 2 weeks they've done a much better job with the penalties to put yourself in bad positions. But to start this game, they've kind of fallen back to how they were prior to that.
Now they wind up, I know John Ryan can be a directional punter. This is unusual to have three
I've never seen three.
Ryan from inside his 5. He's going to try and drop it short. There's a flag down. They fake on a lateral. Jalen Mickens keeps. Here comes another flag. Of course, the Jags known for creative special teams with their special teams coach Joe DeCamillis. Seattle much of the same. There's Joe shaking his head.
Yeah, because when you have a fake like that, if you're going to do something, you've practiced it all week, you've talked to your guys before you send it out to the field. Not happy at all that they couldn't execute it more cleanly.
Depending on where and who this is on, could really shake up the field position advantage for Jacksonville. It's been a field position game so far. So this should be enforced from where he received the punt.
There are 2 fouls, both on the return team. Personal foul, blindside block, return team number 59. That penalty is declined. Also during the kick, illegal block in the back, number 25 of the return team. 10 yards from the end of the kick. First down, Jacksonville. Timeout.
The penalty on Peyton Thompson accepted. So the Jags will take over on offense. Their defense protecting right now a 3-0 lead over the Seahawks. AFC South in the top of the division. It's the Jags and the Titans. Week 2, Tennessee had the upper hand. They'll finish the regular season in Nashville with the Jags and Titans. Many feel that could decide who wins the division. Both teams figure to be in the playoffs if they continue to play the way they have been playing. The Titans are currently playing out in Arizona. We'll update that throughout the course of this game. Seahawks are worried about how the Rams are doing at home with the Eagles. We'll continue to update that on the NFL on Fox from Jacksonville. On first down after the penalty, Fournette. It's a couple of yards, so they spotted that after the penalty back at the 24-yard line.
But they're off to a good start with their run game this afternoon, because it's one of the things that Seattle takes a tremendous amount of pride in. They don't want you to start running the football effectively. They're very difficult to run the football against.
And so far, 5 rushes, 7 passes, the early play calling for Jacksonville.
Down. Green 80. Green is out.
Bortles. Catch made, flag down, and Marquise Lee is down at the 45-yard line with Maxwell on the coverage.
Prior to the pass, holding defense number 41. Penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
You know, that's one of the storylines of this game, with the Seattle secondary not having its regulars like Chancellor and Sherman. Will Blake Bortles and this passing game of the Jags be able to take advantage of that? That's
the big question, because they've been hit hard with injuries at the wide receiver position. You mentioned the drops by Marquise Lee, so can they find some efficiency in that passing game?
So far, Lee with a couple of catches as Bortles escapes and slides, taking a possible sack and gaining something out of it. Michael Bennett could not make the play.
And the other part of that, not only the situation at the wide receivers, but also, you know, with your protection, you've got good edge rushers in Frank Clark and Michael Bennett. You know, do you feel confident in your pass protection to be dropping back a lot during the course of the afternoon?
Well, we got a couple. Bortles ranked 6th among quarterbacks who run the football.
Down. Green 80. Green is out.
Ivory gets to midfield and is shoved back, where it'll bring up 3rd down. Chris Ivory, most recently with the Jets, had a couple of fumbles lost, kind of got in the doghouse a little bit.
Yeah, that's going to get you a quick exit to the sideline, and that's one of the things you say, well, Leonard Fournette, if he's not 100%, why aren't we leaning on Chris Ivory a little bit more? Well, gosh, you know, he was putting the ball on the ground a little bit there as well, so it's kind of been a process trying to get some consistency as Leonard Fournette works through this injury.
Fournette is back in Yeldon and Grant, the other active running backs today. 3rd down and 4. Bortles completes and gets the first down. It's Marquise Lee with Griffin on the coverage. Lee, who had the most drops in the NFL, 8 coming into the game, has been sure-handed with 3 catches today.
Yeah, Blake Bortles is off to a really nice start here this afternoon with the passing game. Very comfortable in the pocket, something that he's been working with Nathaniel Hackett on, the offensive coordinator, the footwork that takes you through your progressions, and he's delivering the ball into good locations.
Bortles in his 4th year, drafted 3rd overall from Central Florida. Fournette, first rounder from LSU, with a yard. Clock running here in the opening quarter, and Jags have controlled much of this.
And that was played really well by Seattle. You know, you want to try to get some penetration on that front side. Quentin Jefferson down inside pushing it. You don't allow anybody to get you knocked off the line of scrimmage. String that out to the sideline.
Seattle has missed the fewest tackles of any team in the NFL, and they've led that charge throughout the year. After no gain, Bortles on the move completes to the 38 of the Seahawks. Larry Pinkard, first-year receiver from Old Dominion. And again, with Alan Hearns out, other receivers having to step up. A matchup of 8-4 teams, playoff hopeful after 1. Jags putting up almost 120 yards of total offense in that opening quarter, facing an important 3rd and 5. They have an advantage because of Lambeau's 38-yard field goal. Right now it'd be a 52-yarder against the Seattle defense if they gain nothing here on 3rd down. Bortles, 7 out of 10.
Lion. Hey, Ken, you're out there, 9 seconds.
Pass is caught. He's trying to get away. Fournette couldn't. KJ Wright had him, just wouldn't let him get away. So short of the first down. Let's see if they line up for a field goal, or if they play the punting game with Nortman.
Yeah, it looks like they're playing the punting game. You're right on that cusp. You're right on that cusp of being comfortable to send Josh Lambo out there. And early in this game, let's play a field position style.
Lambo was hitting from 53, 54 in warm-ups. His career long is 56, but they passed that up. What would have been a 51-yarder. And Nortman's kick drops, sticks, bounces the other way, takes a Seattle bounce at the 9-yard line. It's 3-0 Jacksonville. Coming up, an MVP candidate for the season, Russell Wilson and the Hawks offense. You hear the bells in the background. Christmas is coming. So is winter, officially starting in a few weeks. And this team heats up a 20-5 record. Look at the numbers for Russell Wilson in Seattle in the regular season in December and January. After the 28-yard punt without a return, Wilson gets rid of it to avoid a near safety.
And I think that decision by Doug Marrone on that last series to punt the ball, we talk about playing that field position game. Pete Carroll did it, early in the game when they put it down to the 7-yard line, but the Seattle defense wasn't able to control Jacksonville's offense, allowed a drive and points. Can Jacksonville's defense come out and validate that decision by Doug Marrone to do the punt? It was only a 28-yard punt.
Mike Davis knocked out at the 10. It'll be a third down play. Malik Jackson and Aaron Colvin combining for that stop.
That's great hustle from the inside because Dwayne Brown had the edge sealed. Watch 76. He's going to get out here. He's going to get this sealed. And they've got the corner turned. So it's great hustle inside out by Malik Jackson and then support coming up from Aaron Colvin.
Third down, Wilson on the move, and Russell Wilson has a first down across the 20. He has started every possible game in his career. His 93rd in a row regular season starting here and making another big play.
Well, they've got everything covered down the field, and they're not trying to do anything different. They're not putting in a special plan. That's all the coverage. That's why Russell has got to hold the football. You see him scanning the field. Now he makes the decision. He takes off and he goes head first to make sure he gets the first down.
Okay.
We have a timeout, Seattle.
First choice timeout, Seattle. 30 seconds.
Now this message from Pizza Hut. So Wilson was hoping for a late hit on the end of that run, but again, when you're a quarterback and you're a runner out there, even though you kind of give yourself up, it's viewed a little bit differently. He picked up 11 after the Seattle timeout. First down from the 21 of the Hawks. Wilson back to Mike Davis, and Mike Davis, there's a flag down. He's all the way inside the 45 of the Jacksonville Jags.
This is going to be a shame if this is against Seattle because this is a really well-designed play.
Ineligible man downfield offense. Number 78. 5-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
It's going to be a throwback screen, so you've got to have that mental clock in your head as an offensive lineman because you can't get downfield on the screen. Russell Wilson's going to sprint out this way, but he's going to throw it back. And here's Luke Jokel, who gets called for being downfield early. So it's kind of a tick. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Now I release. But he's already downfield. There he is, all the way downfield there. Unfortunate for Seattle. And then here's the end of that play. We heard some boos here. Maybe thought it was a late hit on Russell Wilson, but it's not. It's actually Yannick Ngakoue and Ifedi. a little bit extra at the end of the play.
And Ifedi had that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty earlier in the opening quarter. So a gain of 35 yards is wiped out. And I think they're trying to make sure the clock.
Game clock operator, please reset the game clock to 12 minutes, 35 seconds. 12:35, please. Thank you.
You know, this is for Russell Wilson. This is the first time he's playing in Jacksonville, and he talked about being aware when you come into a new stadium where the game clock is. He visualizes things a lot anyway. He saw pictures of the stadium, wanted to prepare the environment. And now on 1st and 15 from his own 16, wants to visualize a first down. Open. Richardson, and he slips out of bounds. Let's get a game break. Say hi to Carissa Thompson. Hey, Carissa.
Hello, Chris. So obviously the Seahawks chasing the Rams, tied at 7 first quarter. Carson Wentz hits Trey Burton for this 20-yard touchdown. Wentz's second touchdown already today. Eagles lead 14-7 on the road. Chris?
Thank you. A matchup of division leaders from East and West, and you see the Eagles in position already to clinch the NFC East. Seahawks will play the Rams next Sunday at that LA Coliseum. Wilson, pressure coming, and he hits the sideline. Catch made. It'll bring up third down. Tyler Lockett got in position. Boy, this team does that well, whether you call them scramble drills or not. Russell just moves around until somebody gets open.
Oh, these guys have taken this to a new level. This is not scramble drill anymore. This is kind of a play in their offense, and Doug Baldwin talks about it. He goes, we're really good at this. It's become an essential part. And when you ask Russell Wilson, is that sustainable? Can you continue to play that style? He goes, listen, winning is sustainable. If that helps us win, we'll figure out a way to continue to do it successfully.
Third down and 4. They've worked their way back after the penalty. McKissick is in. He gets the football and knocked out right away. It's fourth down. Paul Posluszny and Jalen Ramsey.
Not just a good cover guy, but a big physical corner on the outside who's a good tackler as well.
Well, part of what you talked about, the punt by Doug Marrone, the defense, Seattle did come up with 1 first down, but now the field position game should favor Jacksonville based on the Ryan punt. Now, Ryan was telling me, I talked to him before the game, once the sun goes down, he said it gets cooler and the ball doesn't travel as far. Maybe there's sometimes a 5-yard difference. Not a lot of wind. Mickens back at his 15. There's a flag down. You saw that fly into your picture. And he's straight ahead. Can Ryan slow him down? And John Ryan does. And there's another flag on the other side of the field. An excellent return, but the penalty may have something to say about this. And there's pushing and shoving going on.
Got a little playoff feel to it out here, Chris. I mean, these guys, you know, they've got to keep their emotions in check. We've seen a couple skirmishes after the play.
It's almost like the bully who runs the block and the up-and-coming bully who wants to challenge.
Exactly.
Seattle used to being in the playoffs. Jacksonville trying to get there for the first time since 2007.
Well, a huge penalty on Luke Jokel on that last offensive series for Seattle, and it looks like we're going to have a huge penalty on Jacksonville here on that nice punt return.
There are 2 fouls by the return team during the kick. Illegal block in the back. Return team number 23. Penalty is declined also during the return. Illegal block in the back. Return team number 55. 10 yards from the spot of that foul. First down Jacksonville. Timeout.
Lorente McCray called for the penalty. So the defense does its job as the Seahawks are trailing Jacksonville 3-0. Second straight time a penalty on a punt return, and the Jags are backed up again.
Yeah, that's a huge one. You're talking about the ball on the plus side, the 45, and now it's all the way back at your 7-yard line. So a botched fake punt opportunity, a couple penalties on special teams. Joe DeCamillis can't be happy with his group.
From his goal line for the sideline and reaching back, D.D. Westbrook. Did he hang on? Yes, catch made, stayed in bounds, and it's a big first down for Jacksonville.
This is a really nice throw by Blake Bortles, as it's going to be one of those back shoulder throws. Byron Maxwell gets on top. He's even right there, so get it to the back shoulder. Really nice adjustment by D.D. Westbrook.
Gain of 21. The 4th-round draft pick from Oklahoma, Keenan McCardell, once a great Jag receiver himself, coaching here, said the rookie has really strong hands, and we saw it there. Drops at the 36. Laura.
Just want to add something about the atmosphere, guys, coming in here, because Seattle's philosophy is treating every game like a championship game, and they can do that because they've been there before. Very different for Jacksonville. Former Cowboy Barry Church said, big crowd, big atmosphere, we have to stay level-headed and disciplined. Even Doug Marrone, when we talked to him, said he liked what he saw this week, said they're loose, they're not tight. I wonder if they should be tighter. He was kidding, but they have been chippy from warm-ups throughout this entire game.
Every night's the Super Bowl, Laura. That's what I like to say. From the 30, Chris Ivory, and knocked down around the 31 by Maxwell. I was surprised to find 11, we counted as many as 11 players on Jacksonville that at least had played or appeared in a playoff game.
And that's why you went out in free agency and got some of those guys. A guy like Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson last year. You need that around as your veteran leadership to help out this young roster, because it's very, very talented. Mercedes Lewis, he's been here the whole time. You know, he's been through the good and the bad. You've got key components to help this roster really grow and be ready to take on an opportunity like they have here today.
Lewis, the only Jag player from that last Jacksonville winning season. 3rd and 8, blitz coming. Bortles gets rid of it and incomplete. Trying to go to Mercedes Lewis. With 8 victories, the Jags have already won as many games as they did in 2016 and 15 combined. And again, with one more win, their first winning season since they went 11-5 in 2007. That was also their last playoff appearance, as they were a wild card team.
And Chris Richard right there, defensive coordinator for Seattle, bringing a little bit of pressure, and I think that that's one of the things that he's going to have to deal with today, with no Richard Sherman, no Cam Chancellor. Does he feel comfortable putting the guys in one-on-one situations?
Lockett smothered. Peyton Thompson got to him right away. It's about what you expect with 2 defenses like this, 2 8-4 teams. Jacksonville the lead. Mr. December, Russell Wilson with Pete Carroll and the Seahawks team. More than 80% of the Seahawks offense this year. And you see, you talked about it in the open, the regular season, December, January numbers and victories. He has a lot to do with it.
And he's had his hands on all but 1 touchdown that Seattle has scored this season.
Mike Davis, the running back. Russell Wilson fakes to him, and he's going long. Richardson can't get to it. Richardson averaging more than 16 yards a catch. Best numbers in that department for the Seahawks.
Well, it was a good plan. They had him double covered, but when you look up and you see Paul Richardson ahead of both defenders, they didn't execute it very well, and Russell Wilson just missed him right there. You see, getting on top of the safety, now break across the middle of the field. He's running away from everybody.
Showing the speed. Jags signaling on defense here. McKissick is in. Russell Wilson keeps and is knocked down at the 25. Jags played that well. Miles Jack, second-year UCLA player.
And this is going to be fun to watch during the course of the game, because you can't give Russell Wilson the same defense of a zone read scheme. Sometimes they're going to crash the defensive end, have a linebacker scrape over the top, and take Russell Wilson. Sometimes the end is going to step out, the linebacker is going to crash down inside and take the dive back read.
On 3rd and 10, Wilson goes down, and there's a flag down. Dante Fowler and Yannick Ngakoue combined on the sack will check the flag.
Illegal use of hands to the face, defense, number 56, 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
And Dante Fowler called for the infraction that'll negate the sack and give Seattle a first down.
I think he's going to be up here at the top of the screen. So gets a hand. Yeah, you can see Jermaine Ifedi's helmet rock back. So
Ifedi, one of the guys going at it in the trenches with the Jags defensive lineman. McKissick in motion. Fresh set of downs from the 30. Wilson, quick throw. McKissick grabs it and goes to the turf. Need to get to the 40 for a first down. Russell Wilson came into the weekend tied for second in the NFL with 26 touchdown passes. Carson Wentz, who has one in that Eagle-Ram game, and Tom Brady, who plays Monday night. Brady also at 26. Wentz leading the NFL. 8 out of 12 so far for Russell Wilson. He's been tough on the ground as well, and here he goes. And nobody can catch him. First down, Seahawks. Slides somewhat awkwardly at the 46 of Jacksonville.
And this is a breakdown again. And you can't do this. You can't keep doing this to Calais Campbell. And that's Calais right there. And he's on the outside, all right, but this is a lot of area for him to cover Russell Wilson. Somebody was wrong at the linebacker level. He's down a little bit too far. Russell Wilson already has him outflanked. There you are down at the bottom of the screen playing man-to-man coverage with Jalen Ramsey, so you've got to carry your responsibility down the field. Not a great defensive plan. Hopefully a breakdown at the linebacker level with help on Russell Wilson.
A 19-yard run. Russell Wilson has 41 yards rushing already. Fakes to Davis. Going deep for Baldwin, and it's intercepted by Jalen Ramsey. That's the 28th takeaway by Jacksonville. Ramsey with the pick. Jalen Ramsey, the one-time Florida State star, with his 4th interception of the season, and you see what the Jags have done with takeaways. Let's see if they can produce points off this one from their own 20. Fournette.
And on the play, they had Mike Davis in the flat, but everybody else was kind of down the field vertically. Doug Baldwin, Tanner McAvoy right there, and then you have Amari Darboh coming from the other side. So you trust Doug Baldwin in that situation. One-on-one, I'll take a shot down the field, see if we can get a play. Little contact there, stumble, and Jalen Ramsey has the pick.
A lot of swagger in that guy. No catches so far for Doug Baldwin. 9th interception of the season for Russell Wilson. Bortles dumps it off. And Fournette gets a first down and goes out of bounds. Well, I like the way, if you're a Jacksonville fan, you have to like the way that Blake Bortles is playing this game.
Yeah, and there was a lot made about his performance last week, but some people would say, hey, you got to realize he always plays well against the Colts. In his career, the last 5 times they played, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. His rating is over 115. So what was he going to do against a defense that's been really good for a long time? And I've been very impressed with his start to this game.
Bortles 10 out of 15, nearing the 100-yard mark, has not made a mistake. Turnover. Drops. Mercedes Lewis, and holding his fingers.
Been there.
Ball just hits in an awkward way.
Yeah, it comes. It's a waist high. The worst pass to catch is the waist high football. You kind of get caught. Which way are you going to turn your hands? Let's see what happens to Mercedes Lewis as he crosses. See if it's right on his waist, because those are difficult to catch. It's up a little bit high. Not bad, but you can see right there he's going to start to reach. You get that finger stuffed. Oh, yeah, boy. You can see it right there on his left hand. Left ring finger.
James O'Shaughnessy, Ben Koyak. Active tight ends today behind Lewis. Yeldon. T.J. Yeldon stopped short of the 39-yard line. nearing the 4.5-minute mark of the half, and this Jacksonville defense has lived up to the hype, but Seattle's defense has only allowed a field goal as they check on the fingers of Mercedes Lewis.
And I want to compliment the offensive line for Jacksonville. This is a very good defensive front for the Seattle Seahawks, and this is the first time since week 4 they've had this starting 5 in the lineup. This is how they started the season. They finally have gotten healthy. They're playing well here this afternoon, controlling the line of scrimmage.
Incompleted, it's 4th down. Marquise Lee was the target. Laura.
One of the things you were talking about with Blake Bortles, with the great last couple games he's having, spreading the ball around to these young receivers. Chris, I'll come back in a second.
Well, Marquise Lee is upset, Laura. They just showed on the big screen here at the stadium that Shaquille Griffin looked like he had interfered in their view, and there was a no call on Marquise Lee. Thus, the punting unit is out. Tyler Lockett from the 18 and knocked down backward at the 20-yard line. Lorente McCray again making a special teams tackle. Seahawks chasing the Rams. The Rams right now trailing Philadelphia 21-14. Now, in their earlier meeting, Seattle beat Los Angeles. Next Sunday on Fox, you'll see those two meet up in the Pacific Northwest, and it should have a lot to say about who wins the division. Maybe both teams wind up going to the playoffs. Pete Carroll with that mantra, that championship mentality. And for the Seattle Seahawks, 5 straight 10-win seasons, trying to get to 6 in a row. They come in with 8 wins here, and Davis with the best run of the day. And all the way up to the 42, the best Seattle run, 42-yard line of Seattle.
And that's big right there, because we talked about this at the top. You don't want to have to drop back and throw the football against this front all day long. So you've got to have some type of run threat. A good job by Mike Davis right there, and he does add a little bit of a spark. You can see he's got some breakaways, got some wiggle there, and I love this story. I mean, it has been a long, hard road for Mike Davis to get this opportunity, and he says, you know what, I got a chip on my shoulder, and you bet I run angry out there.
Valuable pickup from the 49ers of all teams, and Davis goes again. And he's got a first down inside the 45 of Jacksonville. He showed this in the Sunday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's doing it again here against the Jags.
This is not easy to get a center to get out and pull around, and you've got your left guard and your center. That's a really nice job by that offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks.
His catching ability also on that on-the-move Russell Wilson toss that caught a lot of attention. Actually, he was calling for the ball on that play too, which Pete Carroll noted he liked the alertness of Davis, who gets it again. Seahawks working it on the ground, close to another first down.
It's the one area that they've struggled with a little bit, and Todd Wash, the defensive coordinator, talked about just some of their fundamentals. You know, they're getting off level play side, they're getting knocked back, they're not getting penetration.
He got the first down. It's Davis again to the 30, and that should take us to the 2-minute warning. Now, Seattle does have the 2 timeouts remaining. Tom Cable doing a terrific job lately with this offensive line. And on this drive, they've shown it for Mike Davis. Seahawks leaning on Mike Davis to carry them downfield, trailing 3-0. Visa halftime report coming up. The Vikings and Carolina Panthers. Plus, they'll update you on the Titans in Arizona and the Eagles and Rams. A couple of games in progress that affect this one. Calais Campbell hoping to cool off. Mike Davis, 4 plays on the drive. He's had 4 rushes for 49 yards. Harold Johnston, Laura Oakman, Chris Myers with 2 minutes to go before half. All we have so far is a Josh Lambo field goal for Jacksonville. 2 timeouts for Seattle. J.D. McKissick fake to him. Wilson gets rid of it. Hope the sideline official worker over there went down hard. Hope he's okay. Photographer's helping him out. Looks like he's all right. Everybody has to be right. You always say keep your head on a swivel up here.
Absolutely, on the sidelines. And then when the plays come in your direction, you got to start your back pedal a little bit sooner.
But you played fullback where you expected the collision. He's going to make a note of that.
And never take notes during the course of the play. That's always in between plays.
He was writing the name of a lawyer, a good lawyer down, I think. Third down at 5. Wilson flagged out and he goes down at the 31, short of the first down. Malik Jackson animated. Let's check the flag. No official sack so far in this game yet.
Well, again, at the end of that play, we had Germain Ifedi. You know, he was the Seattle player again, kind of away from the play on the ground and a little bit of a skirmish. So I tell you what, he's got a little bit of nasty in him out there, but you got to keep those
hands to the face defense. Number 56, 5-yard penalty automatic. First down.
All right, so there's something going on here. It's the second time that Fowler has been called for that, and I think Ifedi has been the guy working with him.
Yeah. And you're going to watch the play. They're going to get stuck out to the side, and it's going to carry all the way down to the ground this time. You can see the hand right up under the chin right there, and then it looks like he tries to pull him down.
Well, that's a major penalty because it would have been fourth down and a field goal try. Fans here, of course, don't like the call. With 2 timeouts, it's a first down just beyond the 25. McKissick brought down. He'll lose maybe a yard. So far, Doug Baldwin and Jimmy Graham do not have a catch in this game for the Seahawks.
Well, as soon as you get down to this part of the field, though, this is when you got to find 88 because that's where he does all his damage down here in the red zone. He's a matchup nightmare. I'm excited to see they've got a plan for him once they get down inside the 20. The Jacksonville Jaguars have got a special plan for Jimmy Graham in the red zone.
Mike Davis is back in. He carried the Seahawks down here. That's Graham in motion. Davis slips a tackle and falls inside the 25. He'll gain a yard or 2. Calais Campbell made sure he didn't get more. And it'll bring up a third down. We're under a minute to go.
A big snap right here for the Jacksonville defense. They have not played well on this drive. They started to get gashed a little bit in that running game. Mike Davis made him pay, got him down to this part, but they can make a stand right here, force a field goal attempt. The one thing that they have not done a good job with here in the first half is edge contain on bootlegs with Russell Wilson. If I'm Darrell Bevell right now, I'm getting Russell out on the edge. Either direction, he can throw well, both sides, moving to his left or right.
Seattle's deepest drive today. They're controlling the clock with 2 timeouts. Looks like we have a timeout. Seattle will have one.
30-second timeout.
That looked like the play clock was going to expire. Let's check in Los Angeles with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. A wild day out west with Kurt and the boys at the Coliseum, so we're taking over halftime. Today, by the way, plays a huge part in how both Wests will be won with this guy's old team taking on the Raiders. Yes, you. Oh. And the Rams looking to stay atop of the NFC West.
Yeah. What about the Chargers?
We will talk about them as well on the Visa halftime. Right now, back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much. We look forward to that. Tennessee leads Arizona 7-0 in the third quarter. The Eagles in front of the Rams 21-14. Inside 5 minutes before halftime. And the Chargers are leading their game.
Now, Chris is not going to forget about those Chargers out there. They're the hottest team in the AFC right now.
Kansas City beat the Raiders earlier today in that AFC West. But right now, on 3rd and 9, Seahawks with 1 timeout. Wilson flips to McKissick and knocked down at the 20. That is not a Galilean transformation and not good enough for the first down.
No, that was definitely moving forward right there. But that's one of the things you have to watch with Russell Wilson. He's very confident in his playmaking ability in any situation.
And referencing the play on Sunday night with Russell Wilson and Davis, as Blair Walsh will try a 38-yard field goal to tie this. John Ryan, the holder. The kick is, that is not good. From 38, it's a miss. And the Jacksonville Jags still lead.
Got it on that right hash, and it's just going to fade. It's going to stay outside. You got your big bodies inside. I don't think that affected Blair Walsh at all. He just missed that one.
Snap and hold look good. He's now 19 of 26 this year. You know, we mentioned Jacksonville defense digging in the Galilean transformation. You got one coach on one sideline and Pete Carroll talking about, astrophysicist, and the other sideline you got Doug Marrone talking about bologna sandwiches this week. Little bologna, little astrophysicist, and that's the kind of game we have. 3-0 Jacksonville at halftime, and Jacksonville will be kicking off to the Seahawks to start the second half. Let's take a look at some fun from Week 13. Sounds from the Field brought to you by Walmart.com, now offering free 2-day shipping.
This is our time! We came here for something. Let's go back. That's a Pro Bowl play right there.
Halftime here, the Visa halftime after this timeout with Carissa Thompson and Tony Gonzalez. We're glad you're watching the NFL on Fox. Jacksonville holding Russell Wilson to a season low, 36 passing yards in the first half. 3-0 as we get ready for the start of the third quarter. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myerson, thanks for being a part of this from Jacksonville. It's been fun. We expected with two great defenses a defensive struggle, and that's what we have. What do you expect here in the second half?
Well, I like to Seattle kind of take what they did to start the game and what they did to finish the half and kind of combine those. The beginning of the game, they were doing quick passes to kind of take the pressure off their offensive line, and then they went to Mike Davis at the end of that first half and had some success running the football. Kind of blend those two together, but a great defensive half. Some people look at 3-0 and say, wow, that wasn't very exciting. It was a lot of fun to watch that first half. Love defensive battles.
Only one turnover, a Ramsey interception as Tyler Lockett is on the return with a big hole. And closes in a hurry as he gets across the 26 and down the board.
I wish I had the optimism of Pete Carroll. It was a very quick, easy halftime. I said to him, what do you have to do to get the rhythm going offensively? He said, run the ball. I said, anything else to get the rhythm going? He said, no, we are going to come out here, run the ball. That's what we do, make plays. Doug Marrone said, I like the way we look defensively. Seattle's starting to break some runs out. We got to stop that, keep Russell in the pocket. Key to their offensive rhythm, he said, make a play. We've got to make a play. Larry Pinkard has been ruled out for the game with a concussion, Chris.
Thank you. Already thin at receiver is Jacksonville. Meanwhile, they've run, Seattle has, for nearly 100 yards between Davis and Russell Wilson. And here is Wilson trying to spin out of a sack. And let's see how they rule that one.
There was no whistle. There was nobody. Now, Gene Steratore finally came in and waved it off.
And Blair Brown, who's in for Telvin Smith, who's again out with a concussion, made the play. Now, is that legal?
Well, is he outside the pocket? Is it intentional grounding? Are they going to get together and call intentional grounding?
It should be grounding by the letter of the rule.
Down, intentional grounding. Offense, number 3. 10-yard penalty. Loss of down. Second down.
I was just about to say we haven't had an official sack in this game.
Well, you had one right there. It looked like he was down, so you've got the 10-yard penalty and the loss of down anyways, so I don't really think it requires a challenge, but that should have been called a sack anyways.
Blair Brown, who made that play, Telvin Smith still in concussion protocol. He's the leading tackler on this Jacksonville defense, and he's the only defensive starter who's missed a game by injury this year. Fortunate for Jacksonville. And a terrific defensive play. Now 2nd and 20. And Wilson's going to have to run out of the pocket. There's room for him, but he's on the run, throws, and it's intercepted. A.J. Boye. And there's a flag down. It came late.
Well, we might have got a taunt as A.J. Boye went into the sideline of the Seattle Seahawks, and there's that swagger from those cornerbacks, A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey. But again, this is preparation. When Russell Wilson is on the move, we've got to make sure we cover the middle of the field. They've got Jimmy Graham going down the middle of the field, and I think A.J. Boye baited Russell Wilson into that throw because he was trailing him. You watch Jimmy Graham, number 88, to your left right there. There's A.J. Boye, number 21. He's going to get him. He's going to trail him a little bit. Does that look like a little bit of a bait? And then there goes the accelerator for the interception.
Closing speed, and then this on the sideline, the shove by Graham.
So it's not on A.J. Boye. I thought A.J. Boye might have done some taunting.
There's Ramsey and Boye, and someone described those corners as...
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, original offense, number 88. It's a 15-yard penalty from the end of the interception run. First down, Seattle. Jacksonville.
Camera does not lie there with Graham frustrated. The shove and the penalty tacked that on. The 2nd interception today by this Jacksonville defense. That's the 5th for A.J. Boye. And he has not allowed a touchdown this year in his direction. And anyway, the description of the corners, I think it was Barry Church who described them as dripping with swagger. It's the way he talked about Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye. Bortles on first down. Fournette flag down as he goes out of bounds.
Holding, offense number 65. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Replay first down.
The center for Jacksonville, Brandon Linder. Penalties have hurt Jacksonville every time they have tried to mount a drive to add to their 3-0 lead.
They have been critical, and both of these teams throughout the season have struggled with the penalty issue. Thought Seattle had theirs fixed last couple weeks. They're just having a lack of composure.
Leonard Fournette fighting hard down the middle of the field and near a first down inside the 32 of Seattle. His toughest run of the day.
Yeah, a strong run by Leonard Fournette right there. And this is something you usually don't see. Seattle is a very good tackling team. Watch the missed tackle right here. An opportunity to wrap up. You've got some contact going on there, but Jaron Reed had an opportunity to stop that for a short gain.
And he got the first down. Make that second down. I'm sorry. Spotted at the 32, so he's a yard.
Green 80.
Now they're moving the chains to give him the first down. Bortles to throw. Catch made at the 20. Marquise Lee, he's been short-handed today. It's another Jacksonville first down.
And one of the things that Nathaniel Hack, the offensive coordinator, has been working with Blake Bortles on is his feet. Watch his feet on this pass. He's going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4 hitch. Now he climbs up in the pocket. Now everything times up with that. This is the old Bill Walsh West Coast system where footwork leads you to progression. And boy, I tell you, he's looked really good this game, and he talked to us about it because, you know, it kind of came to me in the Baltimore game. It kind of everything worked, and I felt it was easy to repeat.
Nathaniel Hackett, son of Paul Hackett from the Bill Walsh tree influence of the passing game and the offense. First time in the red zone for Jacksonville. Fournette with the carry. You know, Marquise Lee with his 4 catches today, closing in on last season's career high when he had 63 catches, and he has to do more. Laura said that Larry Pinkard, backup receiver, is hurt out the rest of the game. So with Alan Hearns inactive from the start, you have Keelan Cole, Dede Westbrook, a couple of rookies, and then Jaden Mickens, and that's all at the receiver spot for Bortles.
Lucy! Down! 380!
2nd and 9. Floating one. He is open, and that is a Jacksonville touchdown for the rookie D.D. Westbrook.
This is a heck of a throw by Blake Bortles because there's 3 defenders around him, but I really like the play, the design of the play. Watch D.D. Westbrook go down like he's going to block inside. That's the sell right there. Then he breaks to the top, and you can see the 3 defenders converging on the throw right there. Nice location by Blake Bortles.
18-yard touchdown toss, the extra point by Josh Lambo and the rookie from Oklahoma. This interception by A.J. Boye set up D.D. Westbrook and his first career touchdown. Jacksonville with points off takeaways. And Bobby Wagner on that Seattle sideline, he's upset.
A little bit of frustration boiling over right now. It's not, you go in and you have your halftime talk and you come out ready to play. You're getting the football, and all of a sudden you got the pick, and then Jacksonville goes right down the field to get a touchdown.
Tyler Lockett, so 25-yard line. It's a touchback. That's a 29th takeaway this season for this Jacksonville defense, and they're starting to draw comparisons to the 2013 Seattle defense.
Yeah, this has been an impressive group, and it starts with the pressure up front, but they've got great coverage on the back end as well. You mentioned how good they are at taking the football away. Blair Brown, excellent job right there containing Russell Wilson. And here's that last interception by A.J. Boye that led to the touchdown. But yeah, Pete Carroll told Laura coming out at halftime, hey, we're going to run the football. We got to get back to that. They did a good job at the end of the first half. Their first 2 plays, a pass attempt with intentional grounding and a pass attempt with an interception.
Jimmy Graham and Baldwin have no catches today as Davis gets maybe a yard. You know, Pete Carroll said early in the week with the Seattle media, he said, hey, Jacksonville has the best defense in the NFL. They lead in all the categories. The most important statistic is points allowed, and they're number 1 in that category. I saw him before the game. I said, you know, the Seattle defense is pretty good too. He said, but no, I wanted them to hear that Jacksonville is the best right now. This year, the way they're playing, and we have to try and outplay them. Tyler Lockett close to a first down.
And this is an area where if I'm Darrell Bevell, I'm going back to. We've seen it in the first half with some of the bootlegs, with Russell Wilson getting out on the edge. Now the jet sweeps. Get those jet sweeps. For some reason right now, especially to the offense's right side, they are struggling. The Jacksonville defense is struggling with their edge contain.
Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, with the balanced play selection against a defense allowing less than 15 points a game. As I mentioned, that's the best in the NFL this year. Davis. He's got a first down, patiently waiting and tiptoeing and then turning it upfield. A missed field goal by Blair Walsh right before the half was Seattle's best scoring opportunity. A touchdown pass from Blake Bortles to D.D. Westbrook moments ago has made it a 10-0 game. Davis knocked down by Posluszny. Paul Posluszny, he's led the team in tackles 5 of the last 6 years. The 11-year veteran from Penn State.
He just finds his way to football. He's just a football player. And, you know, people worry about Telvin Smith being out. Watch 51. He's going to come from the second level. Watch him navigate his way through all the players. Just got a great feel on how to get up there and make tackles.
And he has had to do more with Telvin Smith out again for the second straight game. Loss of 2. Russell Wilson with time in the area of Baldwin, who made the catch. Did he stay in bounds? Yes. Wow, between two Jacksonville defenders, Russell Wilson dropped it in there nicely, and Baldwin has his first catch of the game.
Yeah, deep play down the field. Doug Baldwin up here on the top. He's going to draw a linebacker. He's got Paul Postlesny underneath, so that's something you're looking for.
They hurried to the line to snap it because they didn't want to allow Jacksonville a chance to challenge as Davis carries.
Well, the only thing I saw at the end of that, I wasn't sure if Doug Baldwin survived the ground when he went to the ground with it, but the one thing I did see was a little bit of a shove on Paul Postlesny right as the ball got there to get some separation.
Too late now once the play is run, cannot challenge. It was a 43-yard gain. J.D. McKissick is now in on second down from the 10. Wilson rolling, throwing, and incomplete. Trying to go to Paul Richardson around the 2-yard line.
And again, the antenna has to go up now on this play, this critical 3rd and 8 play right here for Barry Church and his teammates about Jimmy Graham and what they're going to do now. So they're at the point of the field where they're going to try and play zone. They're going to have Jalen Ramsey go to his side and play zone. The other option that they have, they've actually talked about doubling him with Tashawn Gibson and Barry Church, kind of playing him like you'd play a gunner on the outside on punt coverage.
Graham has 9 touchdown catches, all come in the red zone. On 3rd down, Wilson back of the end zone and too high and incomplete for Tyler Lockett. And it's 4th down.
Russell Wilson's eyes got pulled to the middle of the field. I think he had Paul Richardson open to his right, kind of the area that Jimmy Graham vacated. There goes
Richardson, looked like he was open. Nice try from Lockett with one hand. So the field goal try by Blair Walsh from 28 yards. And got it. He missed earlier from 38. The Jacksonville defense keeping the heat and protecting the lead. Earl Johnston, Chris Myers, the NFL on Fox from Jacksonville. A couple of 8-win teams, and after the field goal, Seattle ready to kick off. Jags are 7-0 when they have had a lead of at least 10 points in the second half of a game. With this defense, it was 10-0. Now it's a 7-point advantage. And back to receive is Corey Grant. And here he comes. Ball is out, and the Seahawks got to it first. Let's see if it was held on to. Grant was hit, the ball fumbled forward. A member of the Seahawks got to it, but there's a scramble. Not sure if he was able to gather it in before a member of the Jags kickoff unit got there. And it's Seattle's football.
Everybody from Jacksonville was locked onto their blocking assignments. They did not see the football on the ground.
And Grant looks hurt. It was forced by Terrence Garvin, and it looked like the recovery was Tedrick Thompson.
So watch as this ball comes loose and is on the ground. Everybody from Jacksonville is continuing to block. Look at them right there. Everybody's kind of looking up their guys. Tanner McAvoy recognizes it first, has the first shot at it.
But the recovery after Garvin with a jarring tackle that knocked it out. Tedrick Thompson in the pile, and it's the first takeaway for the Seattle team today.
Well, we talked with Barry Church, and he said one of the big differences from Dallas to Jacksonville is the defense is the bell cow. You know, down in Dallas, it's always about the offense, and Tony Romo and now Dak Prescott throughout his career. If they're the bell cow, they need to stand up right now.
They just did on the last drive to force a field goal, and here Mike Davis will lose a yard. DeJuan Smoot, the rookie from Illinois. And the special teams, which had been so good for Jacksonville, converting 3 fakes during the year between penalties and the turnover, they have hurt the Jags today, and we hope that Grant is okay physically.
That forgotten phase of the football game, that third phase, and it has been a big part of this season for Jacksonville, but they have struggled today.
The defense on the spot again. Floating for Baldwin. He's got it. It's a Seahawk touchdown.
We talk about competitors around the league, and I think that Doug Baldwin is one of the more underappreciated guys. It was Doug Baldwin's big catch on the last drive that got him down deep to have an opportunity for the field goal, and now he has the catch here for the touchdowns. He's one of my favorite guys in the league to sit down and have a conversation with, and he brings that passion even into our meetings.
5th touchdown catch of the year for him. He's on his way to his 3rd career 1,000-yard season. And the extra point, and just like that, the 10-0 lead has evaporated for Jacksonville. Takeaway, then touchdown, Seattle. Jacksonville tied at 10. Russell Wilson's go-to guy, Doug Baldwin, with a touchdown catch after 36.5 minutes with 0 points. Seahawks get 10 points in 58 seconds. The special teams takeaway. Blair Walsh to kick off. Corey Grant is back there after it looked like he was holding his shoulder when he fumbled the football. This time he'll down it. Touchback out to the 25-yard line.
Let's go back and take a look at the touchdown. Barry Church was not happy. Now there's Doug Baldwin. Now here's Barry Church back here, but I want you to keep your eyes on this combination right here. It looks like that was where the confusion came from. And I don't know if this corner jumps up, then Paul Posluszny looks like he got turned around a little bit, and I think that Barry Church felt like he was going to have a little bit of help from that left side, and then by the time he recognized that Doug Baldwin had crossed his face.
That's one way for Seattle to take the swagger out of that Jacksonville secondary. Blake Bortles, who has played well today, deep, and he's got it! Keelan Cole! Touchdown, Jacksonville! "75 yards.
Well, people talk about how well Blake Bortles played last week against the Colts and how well he's played against the Colts throughout his career. This is a huge step for him because I think he's playing better right now than he played against the Colts last week. This is a good defense. He's making some great throws. Watch this one in stride. Keelan Cole doesn't even have to break stride. He's made good decisions. He's climbed in the pocket. His location has been great all afternoon.
And they'll review, confirm.
The previous play will be reviewed.
Want to make sure his foot, that he stayed down the sideline. The official, I waited too, Darryl, to see, and the official was right there and put the arms up in the air. Here's another look.
Earl Thomas with the hustle, gets the shove right there. Does his left foot stay inbounds? Sure looks like it. I see green.
That's all green from here. And there's the official right on it. His arms went up shortly thereafter. He's hustling to try and keep pace with Keelan Cole. They showed it here. You heard the roar from the 64,000 plus fans. Cole, a rookie free agent from Kentucky Wesleyan, as Gene Steratore is taking a closer look. And this is what he sees under the hood, looking just where we looked, and they go frame by frame. There has to be clear and obvious to overturn.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a touchdown.
Two touchdown passes for Bortles, both to rookie receivers. This one, the free agent rookie. Earlier was D.D. Westbrook, the draft pick from Oklahoma. And after Seattle tied the game in a hurry, Jacksonville goes back on top in a hurry. The Jags are jumping. They lead it by 7. Keelan Cole, the 24-year-old, can hardly believe his first NFL touchdown here. And Keenan McCardell, the receivers coach, a longtime Jag, talked to him before, and he was nervous about Kentucky Wesleyan. He had never played him before 10,000, let alone 60,000. As the kick is covered by Seattle inside their own 25-yard line. Considered the league's most prestigious honor, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award recognizes NFL players who have made significant impact both on the game and in their communities. Malik Jackson of the Jaguars, along with Michael Bennett, nominees, and this year's winner will be announced at the NFL Honors the night before Super Bowl 52. If you want to learn more about all the nominees, visit NFL.com/Man of the Year. And there is Malik Jackson, who said, I was on the sideline in that Super Bowl, that Broncos sideline, when I saw this Seattle team beat up Denver. That was on his mind when he came into this game. From the 25, Russell Wilson knocked away at the last moment. A.J. Boye. Richardson was the target.
I don't know. We talked to Barry Church and said, hey, give us a skinny on A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey. And he said, well, Jalen's the athletic guy. You know, A.J. Boye's the technician. You know, everything is perfect footwork and everything. I don't know. There's a lot of athleticism there as well. And you got to be careful. You can't continue to throw. Pete Carroll talked about coming out and getting back to Mike Davis in that running game. The pressure they can generate up front, the coverage on the back end, the combination by the Jags defense is very impressive.
J.D. McKissick fights hard to get within a couple of yards. It'll bring up third down and short.
Dwayne Brown's just got to keep coming. You know, he gets out front and he stops and he turns and looks inside. They had the edge sealed. He could have kept going to the second level. Been an escort down the field.
A defensive struggle has turned into an offensive explosion in this third quarter. On 3rd and 3, McKissick, bottom of your screen. Wilson looking for a place to run to. Flag down, and they got him down. Yannick Ngakoue.
Holding, offense number 65. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Yannick Ngakoue right down here at the bottom of the screen, working against Dwayne Brown. And they're relentless with their pass rush. We talk about the athleticism, but it also has to be a relentless mentality, and they all have that.
That's his 11th sack, Darryl, and 46, adding to the NFL lead, I should say. They've been major pass rushers. Mickens is loose. Jaden Mickens. Can he take it all the way? Oh, a yard short. What a return from Jaden Mickens.
Joe DeCamillis is going to feel a little bit better now. Special teams coach. His groups have had kind of a rough afternoon so far. I tell you, Jaden Mickens does a great job fielding this punt. It's short. He backs off, but he puts himself in position, and he gets the Sunday hop. Bounces right up to him. Now he's straight up into the middle of the field. This is so disappointing that he doesn't get it. Great hustle all the way across by Tyler Ott.
Justin Coleman kept him from getting to the end zone. A return of 72 yards for Mickens. He had a touchdown of 63 yards earlier in the year, but sets up the Jags. Leonard Fournette, touchdown Jacksonville. Let's see this celebration. Well, a little bowling. And he knocked, is that the 10 pin? I don't know.
Well, here's a problem.
Yeah.
Doug Marrone won't let him practice that in practice. He goes, no, practice time is to get ready for the game. You guys have to do that on your own time, and obviously they're not spending enough time on that.
That's all right. As long as they spend time in Marrone's eyes getting in the end zone, they can ad-lib the celebration.
That's a nice job. You motion Ben Koyak in, and then you bring him back out. So all the eyes on the defense, you're thinking power run to the right. They run it to the left. That was a nice walk-in by Leonard Fournette.
8th touchdown of the season for Fournette on the ground. Jaden Mickens did the heavy lifting on the 72-yard punt return, and Josh Lambo with the extra point. And wow, this third quarter is getting wild. Jacksonville with a 24-10 lead. What a strike from the Jags. Last 3 plays from scrimmage, touchdowns for Jacksonville. Bortles with the 2 touchdown tosses to Westbrook, and then the second career touchdown catch, the 75-yarder to Keelan Cole. And then moments ago, Fournette took it in after that punt return. And after Seattle battled back to tie it at 10, the Jags have jumped to a 14-point lead, just over 5.5 in the third quarter. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers, glad you're watching the NFL on Fox from Jacksonville as Tyler Lockett has the return and does a good job to get up near the 25-yard line.
I think it's a huge credit to Doug Marrone's guys right now, because you're talking about a young team. They've got some good veteran leadership here, but it gets away from it 10-10, and you wonder what they're going to do. And they get it to 24-10, and
that's no baloney.
That's no baloney.
He said that he likes eating cheese and bologna sandwiches, and so they sent him a lot of bologna to celebrate. And he's had the handle on this team. Tom Coughlin, who has joined this team as the executive vice president of football operations, has had a major influence. As Marrone said, he teaches me something about coaching every day. Mike Davis smothered again. This defense just outstanding. And Coughlin, Jacksonville fans remember him with 4 straight playoff seasons. We have an injured member. That's Mike Davis of the Seattle Seahawks, who has carried the load on the ground. Make sure he's okay. Davis, right before the half, gained more than 40. He's got 66 rushing yards right now. Let's take this break now to hear this message from Lowe's. On Seattle running back Mike Davis being helped up and encouraging that he can jog over to the Seattle sideline. They have used J.D. McKissick quite a bit along with Davis, and he's come in now for Mike Davis.
Yeah, but he's become a good part of this run game now, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. He had a good outing against Atlanta, kind of showed that spark, so they want to go to him, but he's got to sit out the San Francisco game because he tweaks his groin. He comes back against Philly, has a good evening, and he got off to a good start here tonight, but just can't seem to stay healthy and build on it.
After a loss of 1, Wilson dumps it off with a lot of room in front and blockers. That's Luke Wilson, who gets near the first down marker. And that's his first catch of this day. And now we've gone into the evening here in Jacksonville, a 4:30 Eastern time local kickoff. The sun has set. The temperatures dropped into the low 40s. The offenses have heated up here in the third quarter. Wilson has thrown for a touchdown and suffered 2 interceptions. Plenty of time. And he stayed in bounds. Tyler Lockett working that sideline.
Right now, we talk about this front for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the escapability of Russell Wilson. We've got to start complimenting this offensive line. They've gotten their offensive line back, as good as it's been all season long. And even Pete Carroll said, we feel confident last week against Philly, this week against Jacksonville with the starting five that we have going in.
McKissick blows through the holes. That offensive line put up to midfield at a first down. And, Russell Wilson on more than one occasion mentioned Dwayne Brown, how important he was, that acquisition to that left tackle spot and helping the rest of that offensive line.
Well, that's been a huge part, getting Luke Jokel back in. And, Ethan Posick has done a nice job at right guard for him. But, these guys just need to get in there and play together. And Tom Cable does a great job every single year for Seattle. He's got one of the toughest jobs, in my opinion, in the league, because he's always seeming to go back to square one to build that offensive lineup.
Wilson to throw. And through the hands and a tough hit on Jimmy Graham, but no flags. That was Barry Church.
And again, I think when we see this replay, you're going to see just a really clean physical hit on Jimmy Graham, but that's up in the interior. This is not down the field. This is going to be a clean hit by Barry Church.
Bask, offense, number 77, 15-yard penalty, replay, first down.
You were just crediting Ethan Posick, the rookie from LSU, and that who is the penalty is called on. A face mask, physical in the trenches. That's now 5 penalties accepted on each team. There have been a handful of others that were not accepted for various reasons. Spotted back at the 35-yard line of Seattle. Wilson on the run. Slides short of the 45. Let's check in again with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. So Seattle fans look away. Rams trailing 24-21. Michael Thomas blocks the punt, and Blake Countess who turns it for 16 yards and the score. Rams leading this one 28-24. Chris?
Seattle fans don't like seeing that, but they know they'll have the Rams up in Seattle next Sunday on Fox. They beat the Rams earlier this year down at the Coliseum. That's the way it looks in the NFC West. Russell Wilson with a lot of time. And open is Baldwin. The ball is overthrown. And does he hold on again? A.J. Boye with another interception. His 6th of the season. 30 takeaways for Jacksonville.
Working from the slot, and again, I think this is just Russell Wilson becoming a little bit impatient. I don't know the last couple of decisions, and really kind of for me, just the structure of the routes. There are a lot of vertical elements down the field. Nobody really in the intermediate or the short area for Russell to check it down to.
Gibson almost knocked it out of the hands of Boye. They confirm all turnovers, but it looks clear like he holds on right there. A little bit of a juggle, but gloves underneath.
We are going to review the previous play.
Now this is that one. We touched on this a little bit earlier. If you have possession of the ball and the ball touches the ground, as long as you maintain possession when it touches the ground, you're okay.
Our rules analyst, Dean Blandino, watching in Los Angeles with us. Dean, what do you see?
Yeah, Moose is right. We're looking at control of the football. It looks to me like the defender has control of the football. The ball is going to touch the ground. Then we have to determine, did he ever lose control of it? Does it pop? Does he juggle it? It's really close, and we've had a lot of plays this year dealing with control and possession. To me, this is too close to change. I really want to see the ball a bobble, something pronounced in order to overturn it and say it's an incomplete pass.
Dean, what if that left hand comes off the ball? Looks like that left hand comes off the ball And does he still possess it one-handed with his right hand at that point?
Sure, you still could have control with one hand on the football. It could be one or both hands. You're looking, did one hand come off? Did the other hand stay on the football? Does it pop? Does it bounce? This is a really close play. Remember, the ruling on the field was an interception, and it's got to be obvious in order to overturn this.
Yeah, and it looks like he does have, with the gloves, hard to determine. It looks like he does keep that finger underneath the ball. And as you said, Dean, the whole reason replay was put in is to make sure you don't miss the obvious one. So this is ruled a pick on the field, and you think it should stand if you were making the decision.
If I was making the decision based on what we've seen so far, I would let it stand.
And we'll see what Gene Steratore, as Doug Marrone comes up with here looking on.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is an interception. First down, Jacksonville.
Our thanks to Dean Blandino, and the crowd thanks Gene Steratore for confirming second of the day, sixth of the year for Boye. And what a free agent signing move from the Texans in the division. Jacksonville adds him to an already outstanding defense. And with him and Ramsey, they are just tough to go deep on.
They really are, and when you pair them up with that group that's putting pressure on Russell Wilson, and he's scrambling around in the pocket, and when they've pressured Russell, he's gone downfield with his throws, and it was one of the things that Barry Church said we have to be good at. We can't leave that middle of the field open because Russell likes to go there when the play breaks down.
Big side! Down! Quick! 380! Green inside!
False start. Offense number 74. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That call on the rookie from Alabama, Cam Robinson, at the left tackle spot. For Boye, it's the first 2 interception game of his career, and a career that has skyrocketed.
Well, I tell you what, this crowd is into this game, and we've done some games here the last few years, and number one, just the number of people, but they're into this one tonight.
Tough to find room for Leonard Fournette. Under 2.5 to go in the third quarter. And Russell Wilson, that's the third 3-interception game of his career. And we have a quarter to play. Russell confident coming into this game about meeting the challenge of, and he gave this Jacksonville defense a lot of credit. He said, I know they have outstanding players, and I always look at I study the film, and I like these kind of games. He doesn't like the way it's turned out so far.
Hey, 57, down! Green 80! Green inside!
Leonard Fournette, first down Jacksonville, a clutch run when they needed it. Down to the field in Laura.
Adding injury to insult right now for Seattle's defense. Seattle's leading tackler, Bobby Wagner, has been ruled out for the game with a hamstring. He's been in the locker room, will not return, Chris.
All right, and also KJ Wright is injured.
Tommy Bohannon with a great lead block on KJ Wright as he scraped in to fill that hole, was able to kick him out. A big down block from the offensive line. This is a great running play coming off the end zone. You're going to have block here, but watch Tommy Bohannon up on the lead block on the linebacker.
So it looks like Terrence Garvin and DJ Alexander will come in with Wagner and Wright injured for the moment as he is heading over to the Seattle sideline. Deion Jordan inactive along with Nazir Jones for the Seahawks. Tough physical game that has taken a toll now on this Seattle defense. And Wagner, we saw him earlier on the sideline kind of orchestrating. It's something that Richard Sherman would do to gather the defense when they weren't on the field to keep them on point.
He's, as important as anybody on that defensive side of the ball. He's kind of like the Sean Lee of this defense. Bobby Wagner out of that defense. A lot of people, kind of talking about him as the defensive player of the year.
Fournette. He gets another first down for Jacksonville, and the clock is running. Let's check in with Carissa.
Here's an update for Jaguars fans here. 9-7 Cardinals when Phil Dawson nails this 35-yard field goal to give the Cards a 12-7 lead at the 2-minute warning. Now Tennessee loses and the Jags win. Jacksonville will have sole possession of the AFC South. Chris?
Thanks, Carissa. And these two teams will meet at the end of the year. And this is the way the schedule breaks down. Jacksonville has a big game at home against the Texans, then at San Francisco before facing Tennessee.
Green 80! Green shot!
Fournette carries, clock running.
Well, whatever happened the last 3 games to this running portion of this offense is on the road to recovery right now, because I've been impressed the way Jacksonville has run the ball against a tough Seattle defense.
They're going to take this to the 4th quarter. Seahawks, who play outstanding football in December and are usual suspects in the playoff positioning. Jacksonville looks like they're ready to make their move, aiming for their 9th win if they can hang on for 15 more minutes. Christmas could come early in Jacksonville. Start of the 4th quarter in Jacksonville here on Fox. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers. This is usually Russell Wilson's quarter. It has been with 15 touchdown passes, but we started the broadcast 2 8-win teams. Jacksonville, good measuring stick in the grand scale of things. So far, they're passing the test against a very good Seattle team.
They really are, and the thing that I liked the most about their performance so far is when Seattle had those plays to get it back to 10-10. They come back and respond with 2 quick touchdowns to break it out to 24-10 again. I thought it was very impressive in the response by this team.
Chris Ivory, who had a 34-yard run in the first half to help set up a Jacksonville score, carries to start the 4th quarter. Fournette with a dozen carries, 62 yards and a touchdown. A couple of big plays in this game. Of course, defensively, 3 interceptions by Jacksonville and a punt return setting up a score. But Russell Wilson, magical in the 4th quarter. Bortles hopes to add to his total of 1 touchdown pass in the final quarter. He's got 2 in the game.
Here we go, green 80! Green shot!
It's Ivory again. Met hard. Injuries to KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner have cut into a Seattle defense that has already had injury problems in the secondary throughout the course of this season. They hope to have Deshaun Shedd back at some point soon. Out since January last year with the ACL. He was a starter for him last season. Did a nice job.
And that's huge right there. Average yards to go, 5.3 for Jacksonville. That was one of the things that Doug Marrone talked to us about. Seattle, one of the best teams in the NFL, getting you into 3rd and long situations. Could they stay ahead of the chains? They've done a great job with that this afternoon.
1 out of 6 on 3rd down so far. Bortles, it's a big conversion, and they got it at the 47-yard line. Keenan Cole, who had that 75-yard touchdown catch, longest of his career, made a big catch last week, set him up for the big stage today.
And you knew there was an opportunity because of the injuries in the secondary, but you have to credit this passing game of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I didn't think they were going to be as effective. I've been very impressed with Jacksonville's offense, both running and throwing the football all afternoon.
Bortles over 220 yards passing.
Green 80! Green shot!
And Leonard Fournette into Seattle territory, down to the 45.
And the ability to roll Leonard Fournette and then Chris Ivory. I mean, these are power running backs. They're not going to shy away from contact. They're going to finish the runs. It's a very physical style. Nice job. They got Patrick Omameh back, number 77, out leading the way.
And the clock running. Chewing up time. The running game, it started slow for Jacksonville, averaging over 5.5 a carry. Fournette's ankle, and we got a timeout here. Jacksonville's going to call that on 2nd and 3. Fournette's ankle appears to be a little bit better behind that offensive line. A nice mix of Chris Ivory and Leonard Fournette.
And he did look like he's running a lot better today, even in the passing game. as an outlet for Blake Bortles, but the way that this team functions is the strong physical running game, and breaking tackles right there, extending runs, and a great job by his guys up front. And you've got that starting five back that you had at the start of the season, the first 4 weeks. Everybody's back in there, and
he has 4 100-yard games. He's nearing 900 rushing yards for the season. Fournette split as a receiver. Bortles drops it off to Marquise Lee. He's got a first down. Nearing the 30. They'll spot it at the 32 of Seattle. Laura.
You were just saying Fournette lined up as receiver. One of the biggest things he told me he's focusing on right now, not just getting the ball a lot. He said, I'm not trying to focus only on that. My learning is what I do when the ball isn't in my hands. What I can do to help the whole offense, not just the run game, but passing, blocking. How can I help this team whether the ball is in my hands or not?
Yeah, and when Leonard's in the lineup, you're going to be thinking a certain type of play and a certain type of defensive personnel group. If he can go out in open formation and get favorable matchups or open it up for Marquise Lee underneath, that's awesome.
He has 4 catches today. Over 70 yards rushing. We got another Jacksonville timeout.
And this is something that's going to frustrate Doug Marrone and Nathaniel Hackett.
And
a little
Blake
bit,
Bortles.
a little bit sloppy here on this series, trying to finish it out. It's been such a great job. Remember, this is off the interception by A.J. Boye. That's all the way down to the 2-yard line. They've come off their back end all the way out to this point. This is an impressive drive.
They've chewed up more than 5 minutes from the end of the third quarter to where we are now. Let's check in quickly with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. So the Eagles down 28-24 in the third quarter. On 4th down, Carson Wentz finds Alshon Jeffrey. Look at that catch, 2-yard touchdown. Carson Wentz has since went into the locker room being evaluated after a hard hit. We'll keep you updated.
Fournette carries. That would be, there's an MVP candidate, the guy many feel, in Carson Wentz. And if he is hurt for Philadelphia, that would change everything. Enjoyed, by the way, the NFL on Fox, the pregame show out at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. The Eagles still have a chance to clinch the NFC East with a win or a tie against the Rams, and Seattle hoping that Philadelphia will help them out. Rams leading in the division, but lost to Seattle earlier this year. The two will play up in Seattle, Rams and Seahawks, next Sunday on Fox. And KJ Wright headed to the locker room. 2nd and 11. Fournette knocked down right away.
There's Bradley McDougald, and he's the guy that's come in for Cam Chancellor. And I tell you, you watched that game last week against Philadelphia. I've always believed that Cam Chancellor was the most important part of that Legion of Boom in this defense. When he was out of the lineup, it seemed to be a completely different defense. Bradley McDougald was outstanding last week against Philadelphia. He didn't try to beat Cam Chancellor. He was Bradley McDougald, and he played really well. He matched up against Zach Ertz, and he was effective in run support.
3rd and 11. Want to stay in field goal range if you're Bortles. And he was thinking about running and then floated it. Yeah, he was frustrated on that play.
Yeah, he got caught in limbo. I think you're exactly right, Chris. Do I pull this down and throw it, or can I hold it a little bit more? Is my receiver going to break away and I can just kind of dump it off to him? And lucky that he didn't get caught in that indecision process and get that ball knocked loose.
Well, this will be a 51-yard field goal try. He's made from 38 today. Season-long 56. It's up there. It's out there. And Josh Lambo got it. From 51 yards away. Lambo and Jacksonville add to their lead here in the fourth quarter.
Sponsored by Ford. Going further so you can. And by Burger King. Try the 2 for $6 Whopper sandwich deal today, only at Burger King.
Leonard Fournette helping set up the field goal, but as importantly, Darryl, 7.5 minutes off the clock for Jacksonville, keeping the ball away from Russell Wilson.
And I wonder if Doug Marrone will have a different perspective now, because one of the things he said, we're running the football well, but the one thing we've struggled is when the defense knows we have to run it, they've been able to stop us. In that situation, Seattle knew what Jacksonville was able to do. They were able to take all that time off the clock because they ran the ball right at Seattle.
And Russell Wilson, who has 15 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and that is a scuffle on the sideline. And somebody got knocked down. It's like one of the coaches. Pete Carroll is in the middle of that, or at least trying to bring calm to it. Miles Jack trying to get his teammates over to the Jacksonville sideline. This all taking place on the Seattle sideline. And we have not seen a flag. Let's see how this started.
Well, everything's going to get carried out of bounds.
That's Luke Wilson on the return.
And then one of that coach right there that comes in, and he's actually the coach that was on the ground as everything started to separate. So
23 game-winning drives. 2 this year in the final quarter for Russell Wilson. Down 3 scores. Slips away. Open downfield is Richardson. He puts a move on, and touchdown Seahawks.
I tell you what, it's amazing what he's able to do. It seems like when the game is at its most critical, his elevation of his play elevates so high. Watch the escape. Watch him step and climb. Watch the strength, though, to get away right there and step up, and the poise in the pocket. And again, we've talked about this all game. You have to protect the middle of the field. When Russell scrambles, he wants to go to the middle of the field, and there's Paul Richardson wide open against Tashaun Gibson in the middle of the field.
61 yards, and that is a new NFL record. 16 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter for Russell Wilson, and we still have more of the season to go. And more of this game to go. It went from a 3-score game to a 2-score game, just like that. Record-setting Russell Wilson with that fourth-quarter touchdown pass a moment ago, tightening things up just a bit. And impressive numbers when it matters the most. You started, Daryl, the broadcast talking about him and this team when it comes to December playoff-type football.
Yeah, they talked to him after the game last week against Philadelphia. He said, hey, it's December. It's time to play. It's time to be great. And he doesn't just talk it. He lives it. His statistics in the month of December and January are unbelievable.
Corey Grant, they try a little reverse, and a big hole for Mickens. It closed, but he's knocked down at the 32 on a tough hit. But a strong return, and they're still pushing and shoving. Last 3 touchdowns have come on one-play drives as they discuss the situation. Meanwhile, the situation in the AFC, the playoff picture, this is up to the moment. The Titans have lost in Arizona, so Jacksonville fans are happy about that. Buffalo an earlier winner, as were the Chargers. The Raiders lose to Kansas City, so the Chiefs take over in the West. But Jacksonville, Tennessee will be interesting to follow in the AFC South over the remaining part of the regular season. And again, they meet each other at the end, the final regular season game.
It's going to be a fantastic finish. Got a couple of great matchups that last week of the regular season, and there's going to be a huge one in the AFC South with Jacksonville and Tennessee.
A little trickery produced a positive return to the 32-yard line. Fournette splits into the slot as a receiver. Blake Bortles throwing, and a tough catch in a crowd with 3 Seahawks around him. D.D. Westbrook.
I tell you what, Blake Bortles has had a heck of an afternoon, and this is not the Colts. This is the Seattle Seahawks. This is a good defense. Now they came in with a few guys out of the lineup, and they've lost a couple of more during the course of the game. but I'm not taking anything away from the way that Blake Bortles has played today. That's a great throw to Keelan Cole right there. His accuracy has been outstanding. His fundamentals have been as good as I've seen him during the course of the season, and that's what you have to have when you play Seattle's defense.
Green 80. Green is hot.
Fournette somehow got through. He may have another first down. Laura.
And another Seattle defensive injury. We already said Bobby Wagner ruled out for the game. KJ Wright will now join him. He is also in the locker room, ruled out with a concussion.
Thanks, Laura. And that may have something to do with the effectiveness of being able to run at this stage of the game. That was good enough for a first down. Terrence Garvin, as I mentioned, DJ Alexander, the two subbing at linebacker for Wagner and Wright.
Well, they had a weakness coming into the game, throwing the football. Now, as the game is worn on, it's anywhere they want to go. They can run, they can throw the ball.
Fournette spinning, hit hard at the 48-yard line. Over 75 yards rushing today, over 900 rushing yards, and this is rookie season. 17 carries today, and I mentioned that he had 4 receptions as well. Under 8 minutes to play. A quick strike from Russell Wilson to Paul Richardson.
Hey, kill. Let's go finish.
Got Seattle back to within 10.
No.
Bortles keeps and slides. Earl Thomas was thinking about delivering a hit, but wisely when Bortles stayed out of the collision course.
Yeah, that's a good decision by Blake Bortles right there. Earl Thomas, one of the harder hitting safeties in the NFL. And again, you're still in a manageable third down situation right here. But big conversion. We just saw what Russell Wilson is capable of doing in that last series, a one-play touchdown drive. So this is a huge opportunity for the Seattle defense to get off the field.
Sideline throw, and a tough catch, and what a catch. It's D.D. Westbrook.
Well, we've talked fundamentals and footwork and touch, but now it's just confidence. I mean, this is one-on-one on the outside on a critical third down, and Blake Bortles is feeling it, and he takes a shot down the field in that situation to D.D. Westbrook.
How well he has worked with first-year players like Westbrook and Keenan Cole has been impressive. That was a 29-yard pickup on a critical 3rd and 3 to keep the ball away from Seattle.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Sunday.
Fournette pounding away inside the 20 of the Seahawks.
One of the great things that Jacksonville has done continually during the course of this game is the ability to respond. For a young team on that big stage for the first time, and Barry Church wondering how they were going to respond. Doug Marrone worried, were they a little bit too loose this week during preparation? They weren't at all. I mean, they get tied up 10-10. Boom, there's 2 touchdowns. It looks like Seattle's going to come back in after that last big pass to Paul Richardson. What a great drive Blake Bortles has engineered here.
He has orchestrated an outstanding offense today. Patient in the first half as Fournette gets close to a first down, maybe a yard short. Well, Jacksonville had already secured their first non-losing season in 7 years. And a win here would give them their first winning season since 2007. Marrone just trying to keep the team focused, the big picture. And he breaks the season down as Tom Coughlin. Jacksonville fans are glad to have him back in the picture, like most coaches, into quarterly reports. And he said, hey, let's finish this last one.
Down. Green 80. Green side.
Going for the 9th win of the year. Fournette stopped short of the first down. And, Coughlin had 4 straight playoff seasons in the 90s as a coach here. Of course, went out of the Giants and won some Super Bowls. Like Doug Marrone, went to Syracuse like you. And as Marrone said, Coughlin has been a positive influence to him and this entire organization.
No, he's been a mentor for quite a long time, not just his time here as head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but going all the way back to Doug's time as a player at Syracuse. Not just when he was head coach. He's kind of the first opportunity you really had to meet Tom personally, but they've maintained that relationship, and he was really excited when he got the job to hear that Tom Coughlin was going to be coming in to help out.
32 yards, Josh Lambo steady for Jacksonville. 30 points on the board for the Jags. Just over 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Well, they have a formula in Jacksonville, and it works. If they run it 27 times, look how good the record is. And when they don't, look how poor the record is.
That's what happens when you have an ex-offensive tackle as your head coach who was in charge of running games throughout his coaching career.
Lambo, who made the field goal with the kickoff. Tyler Lockett is coming out. And knocked down across the 21-yard line. Let's check in with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. Well, we've seen a lot of big names leave due to injury this season. Carson Wentz is now one of them. You see him get tangled up right here. Was able to walk on his own back to the locker room. He will not return with a left knee injury. In the meantime, Todd Gurley punches this one in for the Rams. They lead right now 35-34. Chris?
All right, well, Seahawks fans don't like seeing that. Work for Russell Wilson. That last drive by Jacksonville, almost 6 minutes off the clock before the field goal. J.D. McKissick the back. Mike Davis went out injured. And Russell Wilson dancing around. And McKissick makes the catch. And, you know, Doug Marrone said, I hadn't really studied Russell Wilson a lot before because we didn't match up against him. He said the guy escapes from every kind of pressure, and he called him an MVP of the league.
He is. What he means to this Seattle Seahawks team there's not another player in the league that means that much to their team. And I think he definitely needs to be up near the top of that list.
But a tough day for him with 3 interceptions, but he's got Lockett open, and Tyler Lockett is going to take it in for Seattle. Another big play, producing 6 for Seattle.
Boy, I tell you, Jacksonville secondary that has played well the majority of the game. The last 2 series, I mean, you've got guys running free in the secondary at a critical time. I cannot believe this.
They got their hands on their hips back there instead of making plays. A team that gives up 15 points a game, a defense like Jacksonville, number 1 in the NFL, about to give up their 24th point.
That's the second time they've got caught with a slot wide receiver really in coverage deep down the field by linebackers.
And the extra point is good. After a 61-yarder, Lockett with a 74-yard touchdown. And it's a 6-point game with 3:42 to play in the fourth quarter. You know, Russell Wilson said life, like any game, sometime could throw you a curveball, and I try to stay calm in the midst of chaos. And even when they were down 17, he stayed calm and delivers a strike here for a touchdown.
And I don't understand the coverage on this one. And well, it's Barry Church actually got caught upside. I thought it might have been Miles Jack 44, but again, that's kind of that coverage we saw on the deep pass to Doug Baldwin early in the third quarter, where they had Paul Posluszny underneath and a safety over the top. And in that situation, I just don't understand how you're getting caught for these deep, explosive pass plays.
Should you be in a prevent type defense? With the lead you have and the amount of time in the game?
I'm one of those guys that feels the prevent defense prevents you from winning. So if you've been playing good defense the whole game, why aren't you just staying with that style of defense?
We talked about Russell Wilson's fourth quarter greatness. Look at this. 3 out of 3, couple of touchdowns and 140 yards passing, and there's still time left in this quarter.
And what this does is it creates a belief with this team that they're never out of the game. I mean, we had it's 27-10. You think there's not really a chance for them to get back in, and they've got it to 30-24.
Keelan Cole watches that bounce, and it hits and goes to the back.
Get on it.
Yes, you got to get on that. I don't know why he didn't catch it. All of a sudden, the Jags, who had their hands on this game, letting it slip through their fingers with a narrow 6-point lead. Next Sunday on Fox, showdown with the Rams and Seahawks in Seattle. And yes, on Fox, we'll be back in Jacksonville. You'll see the Texans take on the Jags, who lead the division now with the loss of Tennessee. in Arizona. In the NFC, this is the updated playoff picture. The Rams and the Eagles are still playing. Rams with a 1-point fourth quarter lead, and Nick Foles in for Philadelphia because of the injury to Carson Wentz. This is a very big series. You know, Darryl, you can't fault the Jacksonville offense. They've chewed up the clock and gotten some points, and the defense has allowed Seattle to score and score quickly.
Well, they've gone on over a 7-minute
timeout.
They had a drive that was over 7 minutes. They had a drive that was over 6 minutes, and they allow a 1-play touchdown drive and a 2-play touchdown drive. So remember, Doug Marrone told us, you know, to get good, if you're a good run offense, you can run the ball when everybody knows you're going to run the ball. And they've been able to do that during the course of the game today. Okay, here is your greatest opportunity when Seattle knows exactly what you're trying to do. And remember, Doug made a decision earlier in this season when he threw a ball on second down, and all of a sudden they end up losing a game in overtime because of that, or right at the end of regulation against Arizona. So, you know, he's going to have that in the back of his mind. So can this offense continue to run the ball effectively when Seattle knows that's what they're going to do?
Seattle knows how to win in December. They've shown that. That's in their history. For Jacksonville, this is the test. Bortles knocked away at the last moment by Maxwell. Westbrook was the target.
That's a dangerous pass right there because you've got underneath coverage, and that's a pick six if anything goes wrong. And it's a good job by Byron Maxwell being able to get in that trail position. There wasn't enough kind of trash in front of him to challenge that release off the line of scrimmage. Got a clean release and got right on the hip of D.D. Westbrook.
Wow, he was close with that one-handed maneuver of bringing that back in for an interception. Chris Ivory in on 3rd and 8. Flag.
Ball start. Offense number 74. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Second penalty on Cam Robinson today.
And he's going to be your tackle.
Now 3rd and 13. 3.5 to play.
Hey, goal!
TJ Yeldon is in.
Hey,
receiving back.
Bring it.
He gets the handoff, and it'll be 4th down. A conservative play call.
Well, it was really kind of exactly what they did against Arizona. They went run, they went pass, that went incomplete, and then they went run again. So, you know, Seattle's got 2 timeouts. They've got the 2-minute warning. There was plenty of time. We'd seen a 1-play touchdown drive and a 2-play touchdown drive. That's where Jacksonville needed to put together another drive to take some time off this clock. The worst possible time they could have had to have a 3-and-out.
Brad Nortman standing inside the 15 of Jacksonville. Tyler Lockett, who hauled in the touchdown pass a moment ago, back to receive the boot. He's got it, and up across the 41-yard line of Seattle. Russell Wilson has already shown us what he can do in the 4th quarter today. He's been doing it all season long. Richardson, 61 yards, and then Lockett a moment ago from 70+.
And this is things that this Jacksonville defense knew. They knew when Russell scrambled that he wanted to get back into the middle of the field. That was your first play with Paul Richardson, and then Russell caught him twice, and that coverage with a linebacker underneath and a safety over top, once with Doug Baldwin earlier in this half, and then the touchdown to Tyler Lockett on that last series.
4th quarter comebacks, nothing new for Russell Wilson. At one time, down 17. Graham drops it.
And now they're a little bit gun shy right now. That's A.J. Boye. He's playing way off at Jimmy Graham. You know, that was an opportunity for an easy throw catch right there that Jimmy Graham dropped. But A.J. Boye's given him about 8 yards of cushion.
Graham does not have a catch today. Mike Davis went out injured. J.D. McKissick the back. Wilson steps up out of the pocket, and he's loose on the run, throws, catch made. Baldwin by the sideline. Russell Wilson, 23 game-winning drives, 4 in the postseason. I mentioned earlier, 2 already this season.
Well, it's amazing when that play breaks down. It's like a scripted play for this Seattle offense. It's not scramble drill. The rules they have, the confidence they have with each other.
3rd and a yard. Flag down, and they get a sack on Russell Wilson. Malik Jackson pending the flag.
Illegal formation. Offense number 65 was not lined up on the line of scrimmage. The penalty is declined. 4th down.
A clutch defensive play when the Jags needed it most. Fourth down and 9.
This is a tough decision here. The way my defense played on the last series, 2 timeouts, a 2-minute warning. I might punt the ball down to Jacksonville, try and back them up.
Extra pressure coming on Wilson. Heaves it down the sideline, incomplete. No flags. Jacksonville takes over on downs. What a defensive stand.
Hanging in the pocket right there, they bring pressure. There's big Calais Campbell coming in with the hit. And watch the slot right here. I think they got away with it right there. And Aaron Colvin stumbles out of his break, and he grabs Paul Richardson and pulls him down.
Debatable on that. Certainly looked like a takedown. That wasn't just, that's what Pete's saying. They didn't just run into each other over there.
No, that was Aaron Colvin stumbling on his break, going down, and really being a smart player, doing the only thing you can. Pull him down and take the 5-yard illegal contact penalty or pass interference at the spot, as opposing allowing a wide receiver to run free down the middle of the field.
Green 80! Green attack!
Leonard Fournette. Darryl, you raised the issue as we get close to the 2-minute warning. Pete Carroll didn't hesitate in terms of thinking about punting with the 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. He had the confidence in Russell Wilson and the offense, obviously a play they liked. And
this is the 2-minute warning.
They got away with one. Jacksonville in control with the football, but we've seen a lot of late comebacks from Wilson and the Seahawks.
Let's go back and take a look at the play right here. Watch Aaron Colvin against Paul Richardson. He's going to stumble in his back pedal, and he just reaches up and he pulls Paul Richardson down right there. It's a smart play by Aaron Colvin because it prevents Paul Richardson from going down the field wide open. I don't know why it wasn't called. You're going to give a first down to Seattle, but they missed that call.
And what a defensive play by DJ Alexander, playing because of the injuries to Wagner and Wright. And another timeout will be used. Seattle will have 1 timeout remaining. Yeah, there was no flag on that. There was no call. And turning it over on downs, the Seahawks, they're still going to get the ball back if they don't get a first down here. And coming up, bonus coverage on Fox. The Rams with a 1-point lead. Carson Wentz has been injured in that game. Nick Foles quarterbacking for the Eagles. Seahawks playing the Rams next Sunday on Fox. Pete Carroll still upset about the no call. Now 3rd and 11. How aggressive. Remember, they ran the ball, but they were deep in their own territory last time on 3rd and long.
57! 57! Down! Green 80! Green attack!
And they run it here. Fournette breaks loose. Leonard Fournette. Good enough for a first down.
Well, there's your answer for Coach Doug Marrone. Can we run the ball effectively when the defense knows we have to? Here's your answer right here. Great kick out, great wraparound by A.J. Cann. Opens up the hole on 3rd and 11 for Leonard Fournette.
They get a clutch defensive play and a 13-yard run from Leonard Fournette to get the first down. And now they're nearing easy street. Seattle with just one timeout. And he has hit the 100-yard mark. 5th career 100-yard rush game for Leonard Fournette. But what a run to get there. A series of incidents, and now we got a wrestling match. Here comes a flag, and another one. They've been pushing and shoving all day. There's a few more flags. And a hat goes in the air. Remember that comment about the bully on the block and the guy that wants to stand up to the bully?
Well, Jacksonville's defense wanted to show Seattle and the team that they were one of the defenses that need to be reckoned with during the course of the season. And I say this all the time. You have to play this game with passion, with emotion, but it has to be within control. And we've seen a couple of times today where emotions have gotten the better of these guys out there on the field, and it's something that they're going to have to learn moving forward. You don't want an ejection during the course of the end of the season into the playoffs where you lose one of your key players for an extended period of time. Well, and this is victory formation. You got beat, all right? You didn't make the plays that were necessary. Jacksonville came out here, made the plays that were necessary to win this game. You're in victory formation.
Jacksonville has this sewn up, but they don't want to back down to Seattle.
No, you can't. And once it gets to this point,
that's Cam Robinson.
You have to have your teammates in to have your back. And there's Doug right there. Doug Marrone is an ex-offensive tackle. Played at Syracuse, played in the NFL. He knows the mentality. You can't shy away from contact. You can't shy away when somebody calls you out.
So how does Gene Steratore play this with 4 flags and a hat on the field?
Yeah, number one, he's got to get everybody off to the sideline so he can start to assess what's going on, because you pointed out there's a number of the officials that threw flags. There's going to be multiple ejections at this point. How does it impact your team next week? Are you going to have a guy that's out of the lineup next week when it's critical for Seattle, when it's critical for Jacksonville?
They're sorting out the numbers, the instigators, if somebody needs to be tossed. Cam Robinson, the rookie from Alabama, tired of getting pushed around down there. Angry, Pete Carroll angry about a no call on what he thought was interference.
At the end of the play, we have fouls by both teams. We have personal foul, unnecessary roughness, Jacksonville 27. We also have dead ball, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, Seattle number 72, and also number 91. Number 91 from Seattle is also ejected for throwing a punt.
Sheldon Richardson thrown out of the game. Michael Bennett also called for a penalty. And Leonard Fournette involved as well. Let's take a look from the beginning, Darryl.
Here's Sheldon Richardson right here over the top, and you know what? That right there, Michael Bennett rolling into Brandon Linder. That's what started everything right there. And then he comes back and hits him again. So I'll tell you what, right now, this tape is going to be reviewed by the NFL. They didn't get Michael Bennett out of the game. I wouldn't be surprised if there is something from the league that comes down on Michael Bennett, because that's disrespect to an opponent on the field. There's no place in this game for that, and that's Leonard Fournette. He saw that happen, so he comes over to challenge Michael Bennett.
Yeah, Michael Bennett, that is not Man of the Year Walter Payton Award stuff. And you saw the reason Sheldon Richardson later that the punch was thrown. I don't know that he landed it, but that's why Richardson was tossed. Bennett certainly could have been for the action you just described.
Well, he's going to get a hefty fine, because the guy snaps the ball, you roll into his legs. There's no place in the game for that. And we do everything in this game about player safety. The rules that are put in place, the fine system, the respect we've seen grow for opponents and players where they turn down big hits. They're playing a lot safer. And Michael Bennett, that was not an example. I think, Chris, you made a great point. That is not Walter Payton, man of the year style play on that football field.
Jacksonville standing up to Seattle. Seahawks with one timeout. Look, they're still, here comes another flag. Steratore and his crew just do not want this, or they might throw more people out of this game. And the fans are now booing. Sportsmanship, you got to have that hold up no matter what through the entire game. Pete Carroll coming out to talk to the officials and to his
I think he's
team
going to talk to his team
and say, look, now you could be penalized for this, for Pete coming out onto the field. At this point, he probably doesn't care about that. He wants to make sure that his players don't get involved in anything beyond this game. They have a big game with the Rams.
There are two dead ball fouls, both on Seattle. Seattle, number 99. Dead ball, unnecessary roughness. He is ejected from the football game. Also, unsportsmanlike conduct. Seattle bench for a coach being on the field. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced. First down, Jacksonville.
Quentin Jefferson ejected, second Seahawk player. And if they thought, and I thought he might have been coming out as a peacemaker, if they thought that, they would not have penalized him, but they did anyway. And now there's a Jacksonville fan going at Jefferson, and you don't want to get, there's security there. You don't want them to get involved. Now he's been ejected. He should be headed to the locker room.
Yeah, they need to get somebody from the Seattle staff to walk Quentin Jefferson into the locker room.
And look, somebody threw something at him from the stands and it landed out. Security needs to take care of this to make sure fans should not throw things. Those fans will be ejected from this stadium and from an NFL stadium if they track them down in the future. Two Seahawk players thrown out of the game. Pete Carroll penalized for going out on the field. And bonus coverage coming up. The Eagles have taken a 2-point lead with under 2 minutes to go. But Jacksonville makes a statement and stands up to Seattle. Doug Marrone and the Jags, their 9th win of the season. They have guaranteed their first winning season since 2007. Sole possession, top spot in the AFC South. Bonus coverage, Eagles and Rams. Aaron Andrews, Troy Aikman, and Joe Buck in Los Angeles. For Daryl Johnston, I'm Chris Meyer. Stay tuned.